Good morning, everyone. As you can see from our lively chat window, we are a feisty group whose spirits are not down, and I really want to applaud all of us for that. Welcome to our third Global Town Hall meeting. As you know, it has been an intense and roller coaster last couple of months. And so we thought we would take this time to do a slightly different format than our previous town halls. We want to revisit and applaud and salute the tremendous work that has come out of all of our teams from all around the world. So today we have a little less programming than we've had in the past and a little bit more space to reflect and hear our voices. In the middle of our town hall flow today, we'll have a chance to talk about what people have done and people's responses with a little bit of time having gone by to reflect on the removal of students back to their homes and what life is like now at work and what life was like before. So hopefully this will be a chance to pause, because we all know that we're on Zoom meetings all day. And so I appreciate you starting or ending your day with one more. But hopefully we'll have a chance to have a conversation both in the middle and then again at the end. I wanted to start off by giving you just a brief sense about what the university has been doing and what kinds of conversations that I've been having with my counterparts across the university with regard to responding to the pandemic. You may or may not be aware that the university in times of emergency convenes what's called a policy committee. This is chaired by Marianne Kaur, who is our general counsel, as you know. And the policy committee is comprised of some of the senior leaders on the President's Leadership Council. They end up making decisions about what direction the university will take at a macro level. So the policy committee was the committee that decided we would move from on-campus to online instruction. The policy committee is the committee that finally decides whether or not we'll open in the summer. The policy committee looks forward to what happens and what will happen in the fall. And so myself and other vice presidents go to the policy committee to present things that we have been working on in our own different subcommittees. So right now, I'm sitting on a number of subcommittees that deal with the health, well-being, and welfare of our students, faculty, and staff. And I want to just mention three briefly. The first is the Academic Continuity Committee. We've been working intensely across the university to ensure that our students have good academic content for the remainder of their curriculum this semester, and so that we have the support that faculty need to teach remotely. That Academic Continuity Committee also takes up another set of issues with regard to everything from how we handle credits to pass, no credit options, to making sure that the policies in our academic rules that govern us as a university are upheld and adjusted to this new world of the pandemic. I also am meeting several times a week with the Provost Cabinet and the Dean's Council. We usually meet separately as groups, only occasionally intervening or intersecting, excuse me, with one another. But we've been meeting 3 times a week for several hours at a time to go over all of these kinds of issues that we are talking about, that deal with academics, that deal with research, that deal with teaching support, that deal with the tenure clock, that deal with working with staffs remotely. All of these issues are being taken up and discussed. And the information that we share as NDI within our teams and within the leadership team and across our emails and our Zoom meetings, all of that gets factored into what I share with the colleagues and what recommendations I make so that we can move NDI forward in a positive way. I'd like to talk a little bit about where we're going to go in this meeting from here. I think you need to understand that because, and you know this because you're living it, we're living in unprecedented times. There are lots of questions that the university is asking, lots of scenarios that we are imagining. You are doing the same no matter where you're sitting right now, this morning, this afternoon, or tonight. But we don't have answers, and the answers emerge after careful conversation, after ongoing reflection, after looking at the past, considering the present, and moving ahead to that future. That's why we've labeled the slide Moving NDI Forward. That's why the email I sent out last week was also titled that. It's important that we continue as an organization and as a team in supporting Notre Dame's mission and vision, that we move forward with our projects. We move forward with providing the best global education experiences for our students and our faculty and for one another. And that we not let the pandemic in any way abbreviate that work. It may change drastically that work. We may turn and pivot to new kinds of opportunities based on the fact that we don't have students with us right now. We might be brainstorming for what that next great idea is for when students or faculty return. We might also be getting to those projects that we haven't gotten to because our work lives are so full and they go to the parking lot. So I hope that we can continue to spur one another on, to be a resource for one another, and to support one another, and to brainstorm so that we can collectively move NDI forward. With that, I want to move on to talking about what's going to come in the rest of the meeting today as we move ourselves forward. I'd like to turn us momentarily to a new section that will review the past and really celebrate and salute the ways in which we've risen above this time in support of our faculty and students. We'll also have a couple of updates from ND Voice, as well as the community engagement team, who's been working hard, as you know, to look at what it means to be a remote community. Before the pandemic, we were very intentional about trying to build NDI into one team, which we are, and one community, which we are. But the pandemic throws a curveball at us that we have to reckon with and wrestle with. So I'm grateful for the work that the community engagement team has done, and they'll be talking with you about that. Finally, we'll have what everybody loves, the ND Insider. We have a lot of great news to share, and I hope that amidst our looking back at some of our successes, we're also able to talk about successes in the present and what we're doing moving forward. So I'd like now to turn to our recap of where we've been over the past 2 months. So for that, I'll turn it over to Colleen, who's sharing MC responsibilities with me today.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Michael. Well, as the virus continues to evolve on a daily basis, the true impact is still unknown at this point. And facing a world of uncertainty can of course be scary at times, but here's what we do know. Notre Dame International and the Notre Dame community are resilient, and we're facing this challenge together. And with that, we're already starting to see some silver linings. So we're going to take a few minutes to shine a spotlight on that with the help of NDI's very own Zoe Langsdale from Ireland.
Let us pause in life's pleasures and count its many tears, while we also sorrow with the poor. There's a song that will linger forever in our ears. Whoa, hard times come again no more. While we seek mirth and beauty, 'Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Oh, hard times come again no more. Many days you have lingered around my cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more. There's a pale sorrow maiden who toils her life away with a worn heart. His better days are o'er. Though her voice would be merry, 'tis sighing all the way. Oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Oh, hard times come again no more. Many days you have lingered around my cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis a sigh that is wafted across the troubled wave. 'Tis a wail that is heard upon the shore.
Special thanks to Zoe for that. She is incredibly talented. To me, this video really gives us a glimpse into how our team has risen to the challenge, especially when you think about how quickly this global health emergency unfolded. We wanted to take a step back now and look at how this evolved, where it evolved, and how the university and the NDI team responded. So here you can see this timeline, and it kind of allows us to just pause for a moment and reflect on what we've accomplished. So starting on February 3rd, when our Beijing Global Gateway staff began working from home, on February 28th, the Rome Global Gateway programs were canceled for the remainder of the semester. And then on March 10th, Notre Dame suspends programs in Jerusalem and 21 students returned home. One day later, March 11th, all spring study abroad programs were suspended. In just a minute, we're actually going to break down this a little bit more to show you the number of students and faculty and staff impacted by this announcement. And 2 days later, March 13, Rome faculty and staff began working remotely. March 16, the remaining 382 students then returned to campus or back home safely. And main campus staff began working remotely then on March 17th. And this timeline gives you kind of an overview of the major events that happened in a very short amount of time. And in just a few minutes, our colleagues around the world will share short stories and add a little bit more about the human experience that is not shown in this timeline. But first, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the numbers that continue to build on this story. So here are some of the numbers our team pulled to show the collective response to COVID-19. We're able to assist 17 faculty staff members with their travel home, 28 architecture students, 36 law students, 475 study abroad students. That's 559 people from the Notre Dame community who made it home safely in a very short period of time because of you. Now we're going to take a look at the study abroad team's response. And you can see from March 11th through the 17th, these numbers were pulled. They fielded 3,662 COVID-19 related emails. And of course, that's in addition to all the phone calls that they took as well. And now we're going to look at, we all know how critical Jamie's role was during the response. You can see she tracked 104 hours in EOC meetings. And by the way, those meetings are still continuing. ISSA is reporting that 100 international students are currently staying at the Morris Inn, and we know that many more international students are still in town living off campus. And with the switch to working from home, you can see that university-wide, there were 50,000 Zoom participants per day since March 24th. This probably does not come as a surprise to many of you, since a lot of us live on Zoom now. To break those numbers down just a little bit more, you can see that the number of people using Zoom from February 16th to 29th was 1,131. From March 23rd to April 6th, that number jumped to over 10,000. During that same time frame, the number of meetings hosted went from 3,535 to over 61,000, and the number of meeting participants went from 15,601 to more than 362,000. And of course, that number continues to go up. So now our final video to conclude our COVID-19 recap. And I just want to take a second to thank everyone for turning in all of your submissions. I know I probably contacted you several times just to make sure that we have a really good full story of NDI's response. And I want to thank you all for taking the time to do that. During and shortly after the crisis, emails began pouring in from students, relieved parents, and grateful partners, thanking you and your teams for your quick response to the pandemic. And for many, it was your empathetic approach in the middle of a crisis. So instead of having the recipients read their letters of gratitude, we've actually asked colleagues around the world to read it instead.
Thank you for your kindness to all of us at the Villa. Thanks also for the French lessons. I truly enjoyed them, and I'm grateful to have the chance to learn French from an authentic Frenchman. When I am finished with the quarantine, I will go to the grotto and pray one for you there on Notre Dame's campus.
Hoi, Rafa. Even though the semester was cut short, the time we did have in Puebla was wonderful and something that I will treasure forever. As for the Global Experience Program, it was an honor to be one of the students chosen. I will continue to seek out opportunities to work in Brazil when this is all resolved. Abrazos.
I really appreciate you guys doing everything you can to advocate for us and keep us safe. You showed us every inch of such a beautiful city, and I'm so appreciative of all the hard work and effort you put in to make this such a great experience.
Abroad being culture hadn't really hit me until you told me that you still care about all of us. My experience of being with all of you in Ireland will be something I will cherish for the rest of my life. And I thank you and everyone else at O'Connell House for being such a big part of that. Go Irish!
Everyone has been absolutely lovely and accommodating, above and beyond the call of duty. From your unwavering support, first and foremost, to Corey at IT, to Laura at the Sakai LMS team. An acknowledgement of your hard work, dedication to the faculty and the students, and graciousness throughout this trying time is absolutely warranted.
Over the past weeks, you and your team have worked decisively and untiringly to get Notre Dame community members back home and safely. Thank you so very much for acting so swiftly in response to the developments of the coronavirus. I truly cannot thank you enough for all that you do.
I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you for getting my daughter and all students home from Rome safely and seamlessly. I would also like to thank all of the staff in Rome, and especially her rector, Antonella. My daughter said they were all truly amazing.
I felt strong and secured even at the most difficult time as a domer. When Wuhan was in urgent need, the Notre Dame community raised funds and shipped the most needed personal protective equipment and completed this mission impossible. Now, as the whole world is attacked by COVID-19, we are united again to help the Notre Dame community in the U.S.
The Raj is full of ND spirit and ensure constant engagement with the students and parents back home as well. It has been a great pleasure interacting with him, and it is very comforting to know that he is there to support our children at Notre Dame. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all you have done for the students. I just want to say it's the best choice, and fortunate for our student to be a member of the Notre Dame family.
I was honored to join a video meeting during the 2020 Greater China Scholars Week between finalists' parents and Notre Dame parents. Although it is across the internet, we can still deeply feel the warmth of the Notre Dame family.
Thank you so much for all your help this semester, and especially this past week. I appreciate all your efforts. Rome was the best experience I could have asked for, and I'm looking forward to returning someday.
Our girl is safe and sound at home, and I cannot thank you and Notre Dame enough for making that happen so seamlessly. Although abbreviated, our daughter had a fabulous time abroad, and from a parent's perspective, it was the perfect mix of organized trips and independent weekends. So thank you, Lisa.
Thanks, Colleen, for sharing that section with us. I have to say that it is truly incredible to hear those words of kindness and praise. And I want to thank each and every person within NDI who has played a role in making this happen. You could hear the gratefulness in the students' voices, you could hear the gratefulness in the parents' voices, and you could hear the spirit of camaraderie and teamwork, sympathy and empathy, as our colleagues read the praise that we've received from other quarters about our team. So congratulations to everyone. In that spirit, I'd like to open up this section of the meeting as a forum for us to recognize those small acts of heroism that actually aren't small at all. The things that might not have made it into an email, the things that might not have been captured in a photograph or in a handwritten thank you note, that recognize the team's work over the past 2 months. If you would like to speak, please use the raised hand feature in the participants window. It's at the bottom. Suzanne will unmute you when it's your turn to speak. That's the way we'll be able to manage 100+ people on this Zoom meeting. We do have 4 people that will start us off: Diraj, Antonella, Felipe, and Dahlia. Diraj?
Thank you, Michael. I think before I talk about the India experience, I should say I'm really proud to be a part of this family. You know, the amount that all of us have done in so many different ways across the globe is it's overwhelming, and it was really, really nice to see that. I'm so glad this has been put out for all of us. So here in India, you know, while there was so much happening on campus and our study abroad semester was being wound down early, people were figuring out how to get everyone home. There was a different challenge that we faced in the fact that we had over 20 Indian students on campus, and campus was only going to be closed till mid-April at that time. And the parents and students were not sure whether they should come back to India, you know, fearing that they cannot come back if campus reopens, and maybe losing a semester. So what I did in India, I should say we, because that's what I consider the center, a group of me and us, all of us, started reaching out to the parents, you know, just to help them figure out, you know, what their options are, try and help them, talk them through what they were thinking, try and, you know, give them some support that NDI could give, and also take away some of the load that was already being placed on, you know, the team at ISA, the team at NDI, because that's the one place our parents would reach out to for this. So on a daily basis, between the time that President Trump decided to close the borders in the US mid-March, and Prime Minister Modi decided to close all airports in India, you know, 3 days after the US airports, you know, was spent talking maybe to the same parents 3, 4, 5 times a day, trying to get them to decide whether the students should stay on campus, and if they did, what were their options, and to choose between doing that or coming back to India, and again, what would be the options for that. Ultimately, about 20 of the parents chose to send their students back. They came home. And what we did is, beyond just making sure we knew the decision, I would follow up till I was sure that the kids were back home and not just on a flight home. Just because someone could be stuck, with being in quarantine, someone would not be able to reach home, flights were being canceled. There was a mess out there. But happily, I think all our students from India who chose to come home did reach safely, did follow through and reach home with their parents, which I think was very nice. And I was very glad to see that. And even more importantly, the few students who chose not to come back are happy at the Morrison, are really doing the best they can, and now are deciding what they should do for their summer. So part of what we're doing now is speaking with those parents to give them options, or try and understand exactly where, come at the end of the semester, what their options would be for their students who cannot fly back yet. That's basically what we were doing in India while there was total chaos, all over the world. I'm glad I could do what I could. So I'm going to hand it over to the next person.
Antonella.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, if I have to think back to the time of the few days which we were involved in the departure of our students, of course, I think that one key moment for us was the night before of the day of their departure. And those days have been really hectic and overwhelming for everybody. So you could tell the students behaved very well, and they were responsive to our directions, and they were active in asking the right questions, and also patient in waiting for our answers. But of course, you could feel, especially that Saturday afternoon, that there was some frustration, stress, anger, some anxiety, and of course, worry and sadness. But that night was a Saturday night. We decided to stop, like everyone just stopped for that evening, and we wanted to share dinner with our students, and that was, in my view, a precious moment for all of us. All the students, or most of them, came to the restaurant near the villa, and that was also kind of key for them to go there, because that was the place in which we actually had welcomed them when they arrived in January. So it was symbolic somehow. And of course, Sylvia was offering them some answers to the questions we had been collecting in the last few hours that day. But then Heather gave her speech. Father Richard Boulin gave his speech to the School of Architecture students. And I also said a few words to our students. And I feel, if I think to that time, I feel like it was very important for them and for all of us, because for the first time in 24 hours, we were able to stop, and we were able, even if it was a very dramatic moment somehow, we were able to actually find something beautiful in what we, even in a moment of tiredness and sadness like that. Students, remember students looking at each other, finally realizing that they had a wonderful experience, realizing that they had made new friends. They had also gained a lot of new knowledge and experiences of life. And so I think that moment was very important for all of us and for our students for sure. So I know that usually we do these kind of things in longer time. So we plan for like the last day or the end of the semester day with our students. We plan a lot of activities that was very simple, but at the same time, in my view, very symbolic for them. And also, I think the students left that night knowing that they could learn something from this experience. That is to live every moment, every meeting, any person that they are able to meet in their life with more intensity. And somehow I want to leave us all with this positive thought that what we can learn something from things like this happening to us. So thank you for listening to me.
Felipe?
So, hi everybody. So the whole situation for us was somehow special, especially because by the time we and the students got the email from Notre Dame asking them to go back to campus, to the United States, the semester had just begun here. Actually, our students they had only been to classes for 3 days. So most of them didn't have classes registered yet. All of them were trying to sort of like figure out the life here in Santiago when they heard the news. So everything was very, very, I don't know, very shocking. Everything happened very quickly. And I would say one of the biggest challenges we had to face when that happened was trying to figure out ways to be successful in the continuation of our student semester once they got back to the United States. And that was quite a challenge. That was very stressful, both for students and the parents and us as well. And I don't think we would have been able to be successful in that without the help of our wonderful colleagues, both on campus and our wonderful partners here in Santiago as well. That turned out to be a very, as I said before, a very stressful and tiring situation for all of us, but it turned out to be okay for everybody. During the time we got the email from Notre Dame and the time our students had to go back to the US, we only had probably 4 days. So what we did was basically try to schedule a couple of the cultural trips that were already scheduled for the future, for a month or so in the semester. We did that with our students, and they were really happy, and that was a really good time and space for us to share and to talk with our students and to help them understand in a better way what was going on. I have to say that the students, even though they were incredibly sad, a lot of them were like very, very worried about what was going on. A lot of them were worried about how the situation was going to be once they got back to the US, because they knew that the situation at that time was a little bit worse in the US than it was here in Chile. So a lot of them were like figuring out or trying to understand why they had to go back to a place that was supposed to be more dangerous or less safe than here in Santiago. So we had to talk to them, and I think those trips we did with them and the 4 days we spent with them before they left were really good, both for the students but for us as well. One of the things we also came to realize after all this situation is that we came to realize that we have really high quality partners, not only on campus. Not only do we have wonderful colleagues to work with, but we also have wonderful partners here that we can trust. And even though the situation took us by surprise, I think one of the silver linings of all of this is to realize that we have people that we can trust in case this happens or something similar to this happens in the future. And also, I would say one of the things I at least appreciate the most is the fact that I came to realize that I have a wonderful team to work with. And that is something that I would say probably I took for granted before this happened. But now that we're experiencing all of this, I'm really proud of the team we have here in Santiago and also of the team we work with back on campus. And I think that following Diraj's words, I'm really proud, and I think as a team here, we're really proud to be part of the Notre Dame family. I think we should all appreciate that.
Thank you. Dahlia.
Good afternoon, everyone, from a very, very strangely sunny London. So I just wanted to speak about and kind of mirror what Antonella said. So as a rector, when you reflect, we had a lot of immediate challenges and a lot of the long-term challenges, as Felipe mentioned, repatriating the students, so the logistics of that. And I'm forever grateful, for example, the Q&A in green and different colors. So we kind of knew how to assist students and other interested parties to give them correct information. And also supporting the students, so emotionally, mentally. So they were on spring break, so they had that excitement. They also had the worry and the disappointment of having to leave the program early, and also worried about their other classmates as well. But the kind of the adrenaline got us through that. So I actually found that not the most difficult part on looking back. At the time we were tired, we hadn't slept, but we were focused on the students. I think the biggest part, and Antonella touched on that, was not being able to say goodbye. So we had those goodbyes as we were putting them on the coaches to make sure they got to the airports, but it wasn't that same ability to really hug them or, you know, exchange details to make sure, apart from emails, to make sure that they kind of got that one-on-one goodbye that we have. We have a lovely closing party at the end of the semester where Father Jim gives a great mass, and we have a picnic, weather pending, and that was kind of a gap. But looking forward, as Felipe said, I think one of our biggest challenges as a team, both in Res Life and London, has been supporting the students, dealing with their disappointment, the sense of loss for the semester that they hope to have, and the semester going forward. Also, the challenges that they're facing in their home lives. Everyone's personal life is quite different, and what that looks like, and also a sense of anger. So they're grieving the semester and that plan. And so I've been really, really thankful for our team, both London, but specifically our mini team, our Res Life team. So we've been really, really lucky. I've always been lucky since I joined Notre Dame, first with Judy Hutchinson as my line manager, as Director of Student Affairs, and now Josh Copeland, because the leadership they provided was so instrumental. When you're tired, when there's so many challenges, keeping you upbeat, providing that calm leadership there is really, really important. You have somebody to look to and to provide that support, as well as our other great team members. And also, I would really like to mention Kevin. So Kevin's the assistant rector, and poor Kevin worked 3 days without sleep, and I know other gateways and centers did as well. But I think what was most important is that he kept me laughing. So with his dry wit, we kind of worked together to support the students on the shuttles to the airports at 2 a.m., 5 a.m., 7 a.m., but making sure that we were all happy as a team. And I would also like to lastly mention Father Jim, who always makes me smile. And I think he really, when he went to wave off all of the coaches and we're all standing out there at 5 a.m., maintaining that happiness and that spirituality, I think, was really instrumental in the type of experience we're able to give the students, even within the chaos. And that's everything. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dahlia. I'm going to go next to Judy Hutchinson.
Everybody, Dahlia, send me your Venmo account so I can send you money for that little kudos. Nice job. There's sort of three groups of people I think I would like to point out and give special thanks to. Before spring break, Jamie asked me to be part of the EOC, which I found interesting. And the first thing I noticed was that the EOC at that time was committed totally towards, or almost totally towards, dealing with our students abroad, right, and mostly Rome. So these were people from Student Affairs, from General Counsel, from Dining, from Anthony Travel, and from all across the university. And it was really great to see
sort of the fruits of NDI's and Michael's and everybody else's labor of getting partners together. So all of a sudden, that issue, our concerns for our students abroad, was everybody's concern at Notre Dame. And I think back to when we evacuated the students from Cairo in the Arab Spring, it was Kathy Opal and me. and it was really a whole different scenario this time. So I was really thrilled to see that. I mean, it was a big room, and Jamie could give you more details about who was there, but everybody spent a lot of time and effort and showed concern about this. The second thing, in those meetings, they were every morning and every afternoon before spring break, and then we were called back late in the evening, right before evacuating Rome. And one thing I noticed was that no matter what time I walked into that room, there was a screen up there with partners. Sylvia was there. It didn't matter if it was 4 in the morning her time, 12 noon. Sylvia was always on that screen. And I thought, you know, I wanted to, not being a huggy person, still wanted to reach out and give her a hug. There you go, Sylvia. That's a huge thing for me because I don't touch people, but especially now. But I have to say, and I'm sure that it goes to all of the Rome staff, that, you know, the amount of time they put in, and this was the first group, so really it was sort of, you know, playing it by the seat of your pants and our pants, and just trying to figure out what needed to be done next. So I was really impressed with that sort of energy that you somehow managed to exude through that whole thing. Following that, I went off to Australia smartly and wisely, and was gone for all of this. So please don't fire me. But I had a whole different aspect. I was getting all the emails, seeing all the emails of watching people get evacuated or removed or sent home from all of their different places. And it was really impressive to see from afar. I actually asked a colleague if I should come back, and I was praying that that person would say no. They did, so I had a great time in Australia. But when I came back, and things kind of got settled down and into a routine of Zoom, one of the things I noticed was that this doesn't work for me, and I think a lot of people would say the same thing. I find it incredibly difficult from a sort of, you know, just a mental health aspect. I had a meeting and was grateful that a bunch of our partners joined in, which was for all of our gateways and centers, student affairs or student facing staff. And there were about 16 or 17 of you. And I just have to say that for me was heartening, even though it was on screen. Because I sort of consider, even though we're not officially a team, I sort of consider you guys my team in one sense, not my team, but our team. And it was just nice to touch base and sort of hear what was going on. And then they talked with each other about the ways that they've been able to stay in touch with their students and sharing some innovative ideas of going forward. And I just have to send your thanks, my thanks to you for giving me a little pick up there. So onward and upward, let's move forward.
Thanks so much, Judy. Han.
Yes, hi, thank you. A lot of what I want to say has already been said by a few of you, and but I still want to take this opportunity to say a few words. March has been surreal. Looking back, I can't believe how well things have gone for us in terms of doing our work and getting the things done. And like a couple of you have already said, I realized what a great team we have. And truly, in this very difficult time, it brought the best in all of us. With almost 500 students from study abroad, the 3 different phases we went through, I have to say, at the beginning when we were watching Sylvia working with Rome, I said to her personally, I said, Notre Dame is very lucky to have you. Because truly, yes, I don't know how much sleep she got when we were dealing with Rome crisis. She was there with the EOC in the morning and in the evening and working with students. That was just the beginning. And as the crisis unfolded, it happened everywhere in all the gateways and centers. What I was amazed most is how collaborative everyone was. And when the crisis first started, took place, a few places were not very dire, I know. it was very, very difficult for you to convince students that this is the right decision, and it was time to bring students home. On the back end, on this side, of course, we were monitoring the situation daily. And it's very hard to make that decision. This is why we have students who refuse to come back. And since then, I have read articles, I have talked to some colleagues elsewhere. We knew, many students got stuck and did not return. And without your collaboration, help, and teamwork, it would have not been possible. And I'm very grateful that everybody worked together and nobody questioned the decision. And that's my first point. I'm truly grateful that we have a great team working together. The secondly, I want to give another shout out to my team in study abroad. We were literally working 24/7 for a few days there, answering calls and emails. Everybody forwarded the calls to their cell phone. And when we were trying to do the whole bunch of 300 some at that one weekend, we got many, many angry calls as well from parents, mostly from parents, not so much from students. Students, certainly they're a little more polite than the parents, but questioning why we have to come back or if we don't have to. Nobody lost their cool. We were all very professional. And we all know that we are working for the best interest of the students. And the anger or whatever frustration that they had were not aimed at us, but the situation. I am very grateful for the team that I had. The third point I want to make is about the communication. I think one of the success of this whole thing, why we were able to bring back everybody, except for one, but that's a different story, is the communication. I think if one of the silver linings or lessons we learned is how important communication is and how important transparency is. For every action that we take, we made it know why we're doing it and how we're doing it. I think one of the emails that we got from a student, which is a gratitude kind of email, which said that unlike other institutions, when I get email from Notre Dame, I know what we need to do, and I don't have, all my questions were answered as well. I think that's an important lesson to take from here too. So I want to also give out to our communications. It's also a team effort in how we drafted those emails and how they were rolled out. So thank you. Very happy to be part of the Notre Dame International. That's all.
Thank you so much, Hong. I'm going to turn it over to Leah.
Yeah, so I just wanted to highlight a few ways that both the ISSA team and then colleagues from across India have supported our international students. We did not have necessarily a 3-day, 24-hour on period, but we have continued to have to manage pretty intensely students' anxieties and across a couple of different groups. The ISSA team has continued to work with admitting departments across campus to continue to issue documents and guide our colleagues across campus, despite the fact that all of the US consulates and embassies across the world are closed right now and are not issuing visas, and just managing expectations with departments and incoming students who are so excited to begin their journey at Notre Dame and really concerned about what that's going to look like. We have continued to work with continuing students who are both located inside the US and outside of the US. About 55% of our undergrads went home to their home countries, and so that anxiety about will I be able to re-enter the US is increasing, and the team has to continue to manage and communicate and meet with students across Zoom. We have our students who are looking to graduate and celebrate and begin working in the US in a month. What does that look like for their experience? And that just continues to grow. All those questions. The concerns about what is the US government going to do to help accommodate, what can Notre Dame do? And unfortunately, we haven't gotten quite as much guidance from the government as we would hope for. And then the fourth group are students who graduated actually a year or 2 or 3 years ago who are nearing the end of their work authorization period in the US. And normally we would not hear from those students, and they continue to reach out and say, what do I do? I can't exit the US. What is my next step? And I just want to give a significant shout out to the ISSA team for continuing to care for those students at every level of anxiety. And all, 1,800 students that is, that they just continue to come in, and 100 of them are emailing us every day with new questions and a concern about their very specific situation. So a shout out to the ISSA team. I also want to thank Miranda and her continued support of particularly our Chinese students on campus, and Judy, as we have looked to support our students locally through different town halls and really keep them informed about what's happening, what their options are. We've been able to partner really in interesting ways and new ways with student affairs to host these town halls and to make sure that students have all the supports that they need, whether they have questions about safety and security, and how to get into a grocery store and navigate that space, to how do I exit, how do I just find someone on campus, how do I pay for rent, these kinds of things. Judy and Miranda have been very incredible partners in that, along with the ISSA team of just supporting our international students, regardless of where they are in their journey at Notre Dame and across campus. And I just want to thank them for that and highlight that.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Leah. Thanks, Leah, and thanks, Suzanne. Thank you to everyone for sharing those comments. As I listen to people with their remarks, a couple of key themes stand out for me, and I hope that they stand out for you as well. The first is that through all of the work that we have done over the past couple of months through this crisis, it's clear that we have been guided, as our colleagues have been telling us implicitly, by the university's Catholic identity and Catholic social teaching, ensuring that our students feel a sense of dignity amidst loss and crisis, a sense of welcoming strangers in the case of international students who are feeling displaced, and how do we give them a new home, and how do we make them feel truly a part of our community on campus permanently. We talk about listening and trust and transparency and ensuring that we're communicating honestly with one another. I also heard, besides an embracing of that mission and vision in the comments that people shared, a real sense of agility in handling crises. Antonella talked about how it all happened so fast. Felipe, we were shocked. We didn't know what to do. This is a testament to all of us for our abilities to be creative problem solvers, to use reason and merge reason with faith in the pursuit of finding out the right path to take that's in the best interest of our students and our colleagues, our families, our friends, our faculty members, the entire Notre Dame team of NDI and the Notre Dame family. So that agility and that problem solving, coupled with that Catholic social teaching, these things have guided us and served us well. Hong was right. We had lots of angry parents. We had lots of angry students. You saw them, you heard from them yourselves as well. We've also seen in this world a lot of animus, at least in the US, towards international students, and particularly students from East Asia. Wrongly, we have risen to that challenge to fight those narratives. We've solved problems with regards, as you heard Leah saying just now, with not being able to get good guidance from either the US government or other governments about what to do next. And we've had to be self-reliant. We've had to be resilient. And we have done that. And that really has stood us well through the crisis, but will also stand us in good stead as we move forward and we move NDI forward and we look to the next chapter of the fall. I'll mention that at the very end of the meeting, but I want to turn it now over to Megan, because as I mentioned at the top of our town hall, it's very important that even as the pandemic sweeps over all of us in all sorts of professional and personal ways, that we continue to be mindful and intentional about tending to this community, right? And that's something that's very important for us to remember. So when Judy talks about the challenges that she just did about working remotely, how do we as a community respond to that and support that? We see the heroic work that Jamie did as our health and safety officer, really leading us. How do we make sure she is supported in that work, celebrated for that, but that we're all carrying a piece of that responsibility and burden together? That's what it means to be in close formation. Another thing that matters to us when we think about Catholic social teaching, and how do we discern how next to act? So with that, I want to turn it over to Megan, who can talk about the work of the ND Voice Committee, and then also reintroduce herself and her role and how she and HR can be a support for all of us. Megan, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Michael. I really appreciate the opportunity to provide an update on the great work that ND Voice Committee has been advancing. When I joined NDI in the fall and met with the ND Voice Committee, I was impressed and energized by the participation across different locations representing a variety of teams within NDI. The ND Voice Committee includes Emer from Dublin, John from Kylemore, Joe from London, Regan from Beijing, Thais from Sao Paulo, and from campus, Colleen, Cynthia, Corey, David, Diane, Caitlin, Lisa, and Laura. They have created 3 subcommittees to focus on the following areas: respect and fairness, recognition and community building, and communication and information sharing. I wanted to highlight just some of the great things these committees are advancing. The communications and information sharing team highlighted the opportunity to better understand our organizational structure. As a result, we are building organizational charts to share both internally and externally on our website, stealing with credit from our colleagues in OIT, as a way for us to share with our campus and external partners our network and how complex and broad it is, and an internal tool for all of us to drive even better collaboration. I think you've already heard some really wonderful examples of that collaboration, and I just look forward to seeing that continue. The recognition and community building team is building a peer-driven recognition program where everyone will have an opportunity to express gratitude and shine a light on the great work of all of our colleagues. And finally, one of the initial recommendations from the Respect and Fairness Committee was understanding the role of the HRC and how that fits into the team. So I first want to just pause there for a second to just thank Michael and the NDI leadership team for advocating to have an embedded HRC with NDI. And that's the opportunity that brought me to this group. Though I've had the great fortune of meeting with most of you either via Zoom or in person over the last 6 months, I thought it might be helpful to provide a brief introduction of my role. As your HRC, I am embedded within NDI, and I report to the Office of Human Resources. This provides me with an opportunity to serve as an advocate and a voice for the unique complexities that operating in a global community means for Notre Dame. My door, for those on campus, or really right now, given the situation, my video screen, is open to all of you at any time, whether it's for a chat, for a career development discussion, or if you'd just like to know more about a policy or benefit. And above all, I am honored to serve as your HRC and have been deeply humbled by the incredible work of this team, even before this crisis hit, but I cannot tell you how incredible it has been to witness the collaboration and the work and the tireless. I just echo all the comments that we just heard. It's really incredible. These are just a few examples of the things the ND Voice Committee continues to champion and drive forward. Thank you to everyone on the committee for your time and commitment to the ND community. And I look forward to continuing to work and advance those things with you over the next several months. As we continue to adapt to our new ways of working, I'm excited to turn it over to Suzanne and Allie to update everybody on the Community Engagement Initiative.
Thank you, Megan. Hi, everyone.
So shifting to a remote work environment created a unique opportunity for us to grow our global community and culture. Lizzie, Megan, Suzanne, and I began meeting in late March to explore ways to engage our team across the globe. Within a week of our first meeting, we sent out the NDI Global Community Survey to gauge interest in developing opportunities for us to engage with each other. 58% of you responded. Responses came in from almost every single global location. Of those 65 responses, 36 people spanning 9 locations expressed interest in helping to develop and maintain engagement programming. The results of the survey provided us with invaluable data to guide our next steps. We saw 3 key takeaways. First, we were excited to see that many of you are already meeting regularly with your teams and have adopted social practices to mitigate the isolation of social distancing. Second, you all expressed an interest in getting to know each other better across the entire global network. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, your responses showed us that we want to draw from our diverse backgrounds and skill sets and learn from each other. With that in mind, Suzanne will review the next steps in the process.
Thank you, Allie. Hi, everybody. First, I want to thank everyone for the great response and your many creative ideas and the considerations that you raised. We know many teams across Notre Dame International are already utilizing fun and unique ways to stay connected and learn more about each other. As a team, looking at the survey, we continue to break open the data and lift up the common themes under the key takeaways that Allie has mentioned. Mindful of workloads and the increased email traffic many are experiencing, initiatives will roll out slowly and align with survey areas with high interest. We're so thankful for the many of you who offered to provide leadership or help with community building and initiatives and planting. You might recognize your initiative here, and we'll reach out to you to help start things off. Additionally, communication, delivery methods, and ways in which we can all access information and choose to participate in initiatives across our global network are important. So technology plays an integral role here, and that's also being explored. We all know that sustainable community building is owned by all of us, and it takes intentionality and commitment. And while Megan, Lizzie, Allie, and I work to put a structure in place to help facilitate your efforts, we encourage you to keep those ideas and initiatives flowing in both your teams and across our entire global network. Again, thanks to all who responded and to those who offered suggestions and help. We surely will need it to grow our community and move forward with additional initiatives. So I invite you to reach out to us with any questions and suggestions. Back to you, Michael.
Great. Thank you, Suzanne. And thanks also to Allie and to Megan for continuing this great work in advancing our global communities together and finding niches and different opportunities for people to explore friendship and new ideas together apart. I'd now like to turn finally to our last section of the town hall, the insider. So first, let me say I am thrilled to welcome the following new staff. Father Bob Dowd is our new Assistant Provost for Internationalization, joining us from the Keough School and from the Kellogg Institute. Matt Esau has joined our office as a marketing strategist, and we thank him for his work on this town hall presentation today. Alexandra Francheteau is our new Assistant Rector in Rome. Bienvenue. Helen Kilburn is our new Assistant Rector in London. Welcome. Zoe, thank you again for singing Stephen Foster for us and showcasing your beautiful voice and talent as a guitarist. She has joined us as the West of Ireland Programs Manager out at Kylemore. And finally, another thank you to someone who's been instrumental in putting together today's town hall meeting, Mark Schultz, our IT solutions consultant, another person embedded from another team, but fully also of NDI. Welcome. We are grateful for all of you. Next, we'd like to show a brief video for the ND Insider. Fantastic. Congratulations to all of those celebrating those professional accomplishments and milestones, and welcome to the new family members for both Costanza and for Colleen. I hope that when people looked at those professional milestones, one of the things that you recognized as the video was running was that in many cases, our colleagues are being recognized at the national and international level for their excellence in work. That connects directly to the strategic plan that we implemented 2.5 years ago. We, NDI, and the University of Notre Dame wanted to be recognized as a leader in global education. And these accomplishments from our colleagues certainly show that we are doing that in formal ways. I should also say, as we've talked about throughout our time together this morning, the work we have done during this crisis has been extraordinary. And I also know that informally, I've been congratulated by colleagues from not just around the US, but around the world about the professionalism and the dedication that we exhibited in our work. Not every institution was able to pivot as we did. Not every institution was able to fund students coming back from their programs. Not every institution was able to bring students home. The fact that we did that is another sign of our global excellence and is a milestone in our own work towards achieving the goals and aspirations we set in the strategic plan. I wanted to end with one final request of everyone on the town hall meeting today. We started at the top of the last hour with this notion of advancing NDI forward, and we will continue to do that. As you can imagine, the most important work right now, or question that I need to ask and answer, and that we collectively need to ask and answer, is what will happen in the fall. And I'm sure that that weighs heavily on everyone's mind. No one has made a decision within the university about if students will even return to campus in the fall. And I hope that decision is made sometime towards the end of May or beginning of June. We're hoping to make a decision about study abroad for the fall during the first week in May. We may give ourselves more time or we may not. It depends on what data gathering and what the data points show. But my request of you all is, from wherever you sit in the world today, if you reflect on what your aspirations are for the fall or what your hopes are for whether or not we have students and whether you think it's the right time for study abroad or for faculty research or for other engagements with partners around the world, I'd love to hear from you directly. Please just drop me an email and tell me your thoughts about that. We've got plenty of work going on amidst our various teams at the gateways and centers and on campus, imagining what our work over the summer and the fall can look like. Hearing directly from you is something I always welcome, so please do not be shy or bashful about reaching out. I will take what you say and weigh that and bring that to my colleagues on the President's Leadership Council, bring that to the Board of Trustee members I talk to, bring that to the executive officers of the university, and we will move forward together. I recognize that we're out of time, but my final word is thank you, or I guess that's final 2 words, thank you. I want to thank each and every one of you for the work you are doing to support the mission and vision of the University of Notre Dame. I also want to especially thank Joya and her team that have worked on this presentation today, Diane and Colleen. I want to thank Suzanne for her work on this as well, and then thank our colleagues that are embedded with us, Corey and Mark from OIT. This is a hard thing to pull off. It's just one of the new adventures that we have plunged into. How do we do a remote town hall when we're all doubly remote? But I think this has worked, and I appreciate everyone's flexibility and patience with the technology. I think it's been a good meeting. Thank you. Thank you to everyone. Have a great day, and we will be in touch soon. Please be well, stay healthy, and I wish all of you the best for you and your families during this difficult time. Have a great day or evening or morning, wherever you are.